Remember, my excellent drivers, you are responsible for the safe use of your vehicle and abiding by the state or territory rules that you are driving in, and that, of course, includes mobile phone usage.
Welcome to the Learn to Drive podcast. I'm your host, Liz Lafferty, and I'm here to guide you through the twists and turns of learning to drive with a few laughs along the way. So whether you're a newbie trying to figure out why the car keeps beeping at you, or a seasoned road warrior who still can't parallel park without causing a minor traffic jam, I've got you covered. So buckle up, check those mirrors, and let's hit the road to becoming a more confident and happier driver. Hello and welcome to a special edition of The Art of Confident Driving. I'm your host, Liz Lafferty, and today we're going to be talking about driving in cyclones. All right, guys, so first of all, I want to apologise. I know it's been a bit of a big gap between episodes, and that's because myself, like all of the people here in South East Queensland, we were really quite worried about Cyclone Alfred. That was right off our coast and did hit us. Now, fortunately, it didn't do too much damage. It did do a lot of flooding, which has, of course, affected people, and trees are down and all that sort of stuff. So it has affected a lot of people, but it could have been a lot worse. So I think we're all quite grateful that there was very little loss of life. And the loss of life was due to people driving in flooding. So I guess that's why I want to talk about driving in cyclones or terrible weather events, is to warn you guys of what can happen. So first of all, I would say don't drive in a cyclone. Don't drive in a bad weather event. Not unless you're a professional cyclone chaser. Please don't be driving. You're not prepared for it. You're not equipped for it. Even those big beasts of vehicles that are big and heavy, they can get swept aside by floodwaters. So don't assume you're safe just because you're in a big vehicle. And that's the first thing I'm going to say after don't. Okay. So don't drive in bad weather if you can avoid it. But if you are going to, then the biggest rule is if it is flooded, forget it. That's been a very big advertising campaign here in Queensland because we've lost quite a few lives with people attempting to drive through flooded roads in attempt to get to where they want to go, and they've decided that they're going to take the risk. And unfortunately, it hasn't worked out. And that's really heartbreaking to me because, yes, I know it's an inconvenience to have to go the long way around, but whether it's a 20-minute inconvenience, an hour inconvenience, or even a 2-hour inconvenience, isn't that worth your life? So guys, please think about it first. Is it worth it? No, it's never worth it. Make the choice, but make the smart choice. All right, so the next thing I'm going to talk about, obviously you're not going to be driving in the middle of the cyclone, but there will be weather either side that you're going to have to be very cautious of. And this would be the same whether it's I imagine a hurricane or a dust storm. It's all reasonably similar where the weather is really creating trouble for our driving conditions. So a couple of the really big tips that I want to give you. First of all, please have a much bigger gap between you and the car in front. We normally recommend a 2 to 3 second gap. It kind of depends on what state you're in. We've actually got laws for it. So tailgating is against the law everywhere, just for the record. But certainly in big weather events or even just heavy downpours, you don't want to be close to the vehicle in front. You need more reaction time. So I would strongly recommend a 3-second gap minimum, possibly even pushing it to 4 seconds. The hint would be if the guy in front of you swerving, well, it might not be because he's crazy. It might be because he's trying to avoid hitting something that's on the ground, whether it's a branch that's fallen or whether it's a big giant pothole. So if you're not giving yourself that much space, you won't be able to avoid it and you're going to go into it, which is not good for the car and certainly not good for you. You'll get all stressed. So absolutely have a bigger gap if you're driving at night in these conditions. Why? Wow, it'd want to be a really good reason. Now, I know there are some very good reasons out there. If you're a first-line responder, absolutely. If you're an essential worker, okay. But gee whiz, I would much prefer you to be at the place when the big weather event hits than, driving in it. But if you do have to drive at night and in all that horrible weather, please have an even bigger gap. You might consider 4 to 5 second gap. And I know it seems like a long distance between you and the car in front, But again, you do want that reaction time. All right, the next thing that you might find happening is, of course, as I've mentioned, tree branches coming down with the big high winds that the weather event will bring. Then, yeah, you've got to expect that some trees, or at least some branches, will come down. We've seen a lot of entire big giant trees come down. One in the middle of the Gold Coast Surfers Paradise came down, which was quite surprising. And again in Brisbane as well. So it's really important that we stay away from those big trees. If we see any drama, you don't go anywhere near it. It's not that interesting, truly. It's just a tree down. You'll see better vision on the news, believe me, because that could have taken down some power lines and therefore the entire area could be dangerous. It could have a similar tree nearby and it could come down. So I know our human curiosity is wonderful and it says go check it out, but please don't. And that, of course, also applies to our beaches. I was sitting here watching TV on the morning that it was meant to hit. And of course there are monster seas. Of course there are, and it's really exciting and it's visually amazing to look at and it's Mother Nature at her finest or her worst, however you want to think of it. But there are reporters out there who are getting paid to bring us that vision and bring us the information. We don't need to go down there to see it. Okay. And when I see a lot of people driving around, all I think is, well, what if a big gust of wind takes a roof off an old house and hits the car? Was taking the family down to look at that worth it? No. So, really, it's all about your risk value, isn't it? It's like, is it really worth it? No. You can watch it on telly. It's all good. So during the storm, stay off the roads if at all possible. If you do need to be on the roads, again, nice big areas, windscreen wipers on high and vision. You should be looking everywhere, knowing what's going on around you, looking for any sort of movement. So it's not just other vehicles we're looking for. God forbid pedestrians are out and about, people on scooters, people on bikes. I mean, you really hope they'd all be at home and safe, but there's always going to be somebody who's out and about. And you do need to watch for that debris heading onto the path near you. If you do have to have your car outside in this weather, in the weather events, first of all, keep clear of trees, right? So don't park it underneath a big tree thinking it'll be safer there. It won't be. Again, you want to drop that risk value and keep your vehicle away from potential hazards. So if you do need to park out on the roads, you could give your car a cover that might help from any damage. And as for the windows, look, windows in a vehicle are usually a lot sturdier than even house windows. But if you do want to have that little extra level of protection where you want to tape up the windows, the SES here in Queensland, so State Emergency Services, recommended a grid pattern, not the old cross. So if you're going to do that, do a grid pattern. It looks cool anyway. So once that weather has passed, you'll notice that the roads will be quite heavily covered in debris. So again, it's not the best of times to be driving. And I know you might be like I was, running a bit low on milk. And again, this is another problem that you'll have, is that if you haven't stocked up enough, then you could be in trouble. I actually did have a long life milk. I just didn't really want to use it. But hey, I was prepared. But yeah, if you're going to go out after the event, then be prepared for lots of potholes, lots of debris on the road, and also the potential for traffic lights to be out, our signals to not be working because there's no electricity. So this is when you have to look at your state laws. So here in Queensland, it reverts back to give way to the right, which in my opinion does not work. I was driving in it and I saw crashes right in front of me because you'd either have people way too hesitant or they would absolutely barrel through the intersection with no regard for anybody else. And it was a horrible thing to see. Now, first thing we need to do is bring back some common courtesy and some common sense when it comes to, if traffic lights are out, you're not going to approach them flying through. You're going to approach them saying, anybody could be coming through, I've got to be ready. The next thing you want to be doing is, again, knowing your road rules. So here in Queensland, it's give way to the right. In New South Wales, they've got a really good version of how to give way, which is at a set of traffic lights, they will have a stop sign with 3 black dots and a sign underneath saying stop when lights are blacked out or flashing. Now, that stop sign will be facing the quieter street, right? It won't be facing the main street. The main road should have right of way. The quiet streets, of course, because they've got less traffic, they would be the ones to give way. Now, even at those situations, and again, I've done it in Sydney where the lights have been out and I've been on the main road and I've seen there's been a lot of side traffic and I've come to a stop and so has the person next to me, and that side traffic we've allowed to come through, even though according to that road rule, we didn't have to give way. But I thought it was common courtesy to do that because you wouldn't want to be sitting there for 10 minutes waiting for somebody to stop, would you? So please, can we just take a moment to calm down, to not rush, and to think about our fellow motorists? We've all just been through a big deal. We don't want more stress. So approach intersections where the lights aren't working differently. Come in slow, look around, see what other drivers are doing, and make good decisions so that you will be safe and the people around you are safe. And the only way you can make good decisions is having good reaction time and good vision. So please take your time through those intersections, okay? All right, so I'm going to say the last little bit, which is, again, at the end of the weather event, you could have some flooding. It may not have been, that problem to begin with, but it will come in. So again, please, if there's water on the road, don't try and attempt to go through it. Just say, okay, well, I get to listen to a podcast longer. I get to put on my favorite album longer, and I'll just go the long way home. It really is worth it, guys. So please stay safe. Be kind to one another when you're out there on the roads, whether it's a motorist, a pedestrian, a cyclist. We're all road users who all want to get to our destination. Okay? So please, let's just take our time. Let's try and relax. Let's try and enjoy the drive, and let's get home safe. All right, I'll catch you next time. And my full driving lessons are available on Apple Podcasts and the artofconfidentdriving.com website, where you will get access to instructional videos. Remember to relax and enjoy the drive. See you next time.